Please be seated. The court is back in session, and again the chamber will hand the floor to the prosecution to continue putting questions to this witness. You can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're discussing document E3 4083 and a particular list at the end of this document. I just have two more questions on this list. Prisoner number 28 was a person who is identified as having complained about having to eat thin porridge. And I see your counsel. It's at Khmer page 000-68036. Prisoner 28 was someone who complained about having to eat thin porridge. My question, did the prisoners at Krang Tachan include people whose offense consisted of complaining about the lack of food?
Prisoners who were detained at Krang Tachan prison were those who allegedly complained or about lack of food, about overworked, etc. For that reason, they were taken and detained there, or at least most of them were in this category.
And the last entry on this prisoner list, number 29, was a 73-year-old man, Sung Rat, who was a former village chief accused of stealing food. Did the prisoners at Krang Tachan include elderly people?
Mr. President, I object again to this question. We do not know for sure that this particular page is in fact a Krang Tachan document. As I said earlier, it looks completely different from the other pages. We have no way of verifying the original document, so we do not know whether this page was inserted somehow. Again, it looks completely different, and it doesn't look, as far as I'm concerned, like a page on a Krang Tachan record. So, again, prosecution is assuming that this is some document that the witness has seen, or in fact is part of the Krang Tachan prison records. We do not know.
Mr. President, this is the same objection. He's entitled to ask questions. This is an admitted record. My question to the witness is simply, did the prisoners at Krang Tachan include elderly people?
Well, I'm going to interrupt. I would like you to rule on this.
President, the International Co-Prosecutor, could you inform the Chamber regarding document A3/4083, whether this document is part of the current case file, and whether this document is referred to in the footnote of the indictment?
Mr. President, it's certainly part of the case file. It's an admitted document. I can't tell you without checking whether it's cited in the closing order, but it was a document that was admitted as part of the Tramcock records that were put before the Chamber during the 002-01 trial.
President, thank you. The Chamber rejects the objection raised by the Defense Counsel regarding document E3/4083, and the prosecution can refer to this document during their questioning to this witness. The Defense Counsel is also reminded that you may use your time of questioning to clarify the issue in relation to this document when you put a question to this witness. And the International Co-Prosecutor, you may continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Witness, were there elderly prisoners at Krang Tachan?
It is rare to see elderly prisoners.
I want to turn now to a statement you made in D-125/129, your first interview with OCIJ, at Khmer 00224790, English 00231675, and French 00234576. In this part of your statement, you described receiving and typing handwritten papers that contained, and I quote, the confessions of prisoners saying that they had been involved with the CIA, had stolen to eat, had complained of fatigue, had complained of not getting their fill to eat, had been involved with Lon Nol soldiers and capitalists, etc. End of quote. We've covered a number of these subjects already. My question to you now is, were there many prisoners at Krang Tachan who were former Lon Nol soldiers or people accused of having connections to the Lon Nol regime?
I did not know for sure how prisoners were categorized into these two or three types.
I want to turn to some questions about a cousin of yours. You indicated in interview D-232/93 at answer 68 that you had a cousin, Mia Kun, who was arrested and taken to Krang Tachan prison. Can you first tell us, how did you learn that your cousin had been arrested and sent to Krang Tachan?
My cousin was arrested and imprisoned at Krang Tachan And that happened before my arrival at Krantachan. And upon my arrival, he was not there anymore. And I presumed he was arrested at his village and sent to Krantachan. But I did not see him when I arrived.
What did your cousin do and where did he live during the Khmer Rouge period?
Before the Khmer Rouge regime, he lived in Phnom Penh, and after he left Phnom Penh, he went to live at Angtanu village, Lebo commune, Tramkok district, Takeo province.
Mr. President, with your leave, I'd like to provide to the witness two documents that relate to a person by the same name, Mia Pun, who was arrested in Tramkok district. These are documents D-157.39, D-157.39, and document D-157.7. With your leave, may I provide these to the witness?
Yes, you may proceed.
Mr. Witness, the first of the two documents that you're just given, D-15739, is an 18 April 1977 report to the party from Office 105, which states as follows, quote, on 17 April 1977, a trader was arrested. His name is Mia Pun, 26 years old, who was a student of second grade senior high school and a former second lieutenant in Pochetong. He was arrested from Tul Kepos village, Lebo commune. We have now brought him over to the police already, end of quote. And in document D-157.7, if you would look at Khmer page 00270861, English 00866430, and French 00872805. There are notes of the interrogation of a Mies Pun, 25 years old, wife named Mao Chan, birthplace Lebo commune, Tramkok district, who joined the Lon Nol Army in 1970 and was promoted to first lieutenant. Mr. Witness, is the person who's described in your documents, in these documents, your cousin?
Yes, that is true. Mia Pun was my cousin.
And was your cousin a lieutenant in the Lon Nol Army prior to 1975?
I was not sure of his rank while he was in Phnom Penh. I only knew that he was a student at the time.
Now, the notes for your cousin in D-157.7 contain the following statement, quote, this man is a string of Ah Chin Hon and Ah Mop, who have a plan to betray us. These men said, and indicated in quotes, we should be patient. Later, our country will be changed to be what it was in the past. At that time, there will be religion, school, private property, and money again. And continuing in the next paragraph, these men do not have a clear plan. They are only waiting for their group to come from outside. At present, they are frustrated with the hard work and shortages because they used to own many things during the regime of Lon Nol. End of quote. Now, Mr. Witness, in your interview D-232-93 at answer 53, you testified that very few prisoners were released from Krang Tachan, and you said, and I quote, 99% of prisoners were smashed. My question, was your cousin one of the few who were released from Krang Tachan, or was he part of the 99% who were executed?
After my husband was arrested and sent to Krang Tachan, I had not yet arrived at the prison. I was still with the army.
Was your cousin ever seen again after he was arrested and sent to Krang Tachan?
No, I did not see him.
And Mr. Witness, the last subject I will cover with you today is the executions of prisoners at Krang Tachan. And in your OCIJ interview, including D-232-93 at answer 29, you have testified that the documents you were given to type included, quote, names of prisoners who were smashed. Mr. President, with your leave, at this time I would like to provide to the witness document E3/4145, E3-4145, at Khmer 000-68737, English 00762845 through 46, and French 00761101 through 02, which is a partial list of prisoners. May I provide this document to the witness?
Mr. President, again, we have a situation with this particular document. I'm not sure whether you actually understood well my earlier objection. But let me focus now on this particular document. We did a research on this document, and this is one of the very few documents relied upon by the prosecution of which there seems to be an original document. The original document, however, is only to be found at Tuol Sleng. So it seems that this is not an actual Krang Tachan document, but rather, possibly, I don't know, a document from S21.
Mr. President, this is an admitted document. There are many Tramcock records that are stored at the Tuol Sleng archives. That doesn't mean it's a Tuol Sleng document. And if I may proceed, I will be able to question the witness on this document. He can question this witness on this document. That's the only way we'll learn anything about it.
Mr. President, this is E34145. As you can see, these are mostly East Zone Division soldiers. And if we are talking about an S21 document, I'm not talking about a Tuol Sleng document, but an S21 document, then this witness cannot possibly say anything intelligently about it.
Counsel is looking at the wrong page. That is not the page that is being presented. It's not the list. This is not a list of East Zone prisoners.
It is part of E3415.
As was the list that included the relatives of the first witness in this trial, which has clearly been established to be a Krang Tachan record. This document, by the way, I've done more research possible. I've already confirmed that many of the prisoners in here appear in other of these same documents, Krang Tachan interrogation notes and reports from commune chiefs in Tram Kak. It's an admitted document. It clearly involves Tram Kak, and I would request to proceed.
Chamber, President, the objection of Defense Counsel for Mr. Nguyen Chia is overruled, and the request from co-prosecutor is granted.
The document you've been provided, Mr. Witness, is a partial list of 37 prisoners, and it contains two annotations on it. The lower one on the right side is dated 22nd of May, 1977, and states, quote, a total of 37 people, both young and old, whose names are contained in this list have been purged. Do you recognize the handwriting of that annotation?
Mark. Answer. I did not recognize the handwriting, but I knew the person who could put annotation on the document were An and Duc. However, I could not assume that the handwritings belong to An or Duc.
And you've testified that you typed prisoner lists, including prisoners who had been smashed. The typed part of this document, is this similar to the form of lists that you would type?
Answer. As the form, it was the same as the document I did the typing. And as for the document stating about the killing of people, I did not see it before, but the form, as I said, it was the same as the document I did the typing.
In your interview D-232/93 at answer 26, you testified that, quote, prisoners were taken to be killed both inside and outside the prison, and that when prisoners were killed inside the prison, I heard their screams, end of quote. You also testified in statement E319.1.25 at answer 23 that you saw, and I quote, dead bodies piled up on each other outside the fence. Can you tell us on what side of the prison it was that you saw this pile of dead bodies? The north, south, east, or west side?
Answer. I never saw the piles of dead bodies, and I did not know the answer.
Mr. Witness, one of the guards in your 6-man unit at Krang Tachan, who you referred to as Sim, he has made a number of statements about executions at the prison that I would like to ask you about. In D40/20 at Khmer 00165330, English 00433569 through 70, and French 00524318. Sim testified that your unit was assigned to guard outside during executions. And he stated, quote, "Whenever prisoners were being killed, they put me on guard outside the Krang Tachan office fence so that no one could approach," end of quote. He testified that meetings which were held at the prison by the prison leaders on Duch, Chen, and Peng informed your unit, and I quote, "Today we have to take prisoners out to kill them, and then they assigned us to guard outside," end of quote. Do you recall your unit receiving these assignments? And can you tell us where on the Krang Tachan compound these meetings were held where assignments were given?
Answer. During the meeting, there were no such meeting instructing us to take people to be killed. The 6-man unit had no responsibility to deal with killing. And in my Division 210, Regiment 13, Mien and Ta ordered me to do the assignment. I was at the outside guarding, so I was never convinced to a meeting to get such assignments.
Mr. Witness, was your guard unit obliged to follow the orders that you received from your superiors?
Answer. My 6-man unit received the order from the commander of Regiment 13. We were asked to be on guard at Krang Tachan security office. As I mentioned, I was not part of the staff at Krang Tachan security office.
Let me read to you another part of your fellow unit member's testimony. This is at Khmer 00165334 through 35, English 00433573, and French 00524323. Sim testified that during executions, quote, "I heard them playing a loudspeaker. They always used the prisoner Sen to play the loudspeaker and dig the pits to bury the bodies of those killed, the bodies of the prisoners," end of quote. Can you tell us whether loudspeakers were played during executions, and can you tell us where those loudspeakers were located on the prison compound?
Answer. During that time, there were no loudspeakers.
Were you aware whether prisoners such as Sai Sen were ordered to dig pits and bury bodies of the killed prisoners.
Answer. As for Soi San, when I arrived there, he was already there, and I did not know how long he had been there already, and I did not know the task, the responsibility of Soi San. Soi San was at that place for a long period of time already, and I did not know when he arrived there.
Let me read one more statement by your fellow unit member from the same pages. He described the instruments that were used to kill prisoners, and he testified, quote, "When they killed people, they used hoes, bamboo trunks. There were also swords for cutting their throats," end of quote. Are you able to tell us where weapons were stored at the Krang Tachan compound?
Answer. I did not know. I did not know where the weapons were hidden and where they were.
Mr. Witness, was your unit armed?
Answer. For my team, we were armed with M16, AK, and CKC.
Was there a location at the Krang Tachan site where weapons were stored, such as those guns?
Answer. I did not know the location where the weapons were stored, and as for our 6-man unit, we were armed. Each of us was armed, and we had 6 rifles, and I did not know where the weapons were stored. Each of us got a weapon, and we were armed day and night.
Before I finish, Mr. Witness, Sai Sen, the prisoner you've identified, has provided some testimony about your role at the prison that I would like to read to you and give you a chance to respond. In his OCIJ statement, E319.1.24, at answers 105 through 106, Sai Sen testified as follows. Question: what did Little Dooch do? Answer: Little Dooch typed using a typewriter, but Dooch also killed prisoners, if there were many of them, and he wrote the report the next day. Question: did you see Little Dooch kill people with your own eyes? Answer: I saw it very often. Before killing women, he told them to get naked. End of quote. Mr. Witness, were there occasions, because of the number of prisoners to be killed, that your guard unit was ordered and assigned to assist with executions?
Answer. Whenever there were killings, we, the guards, were on duty, and we were outside of the perimeter. And as for the answer stating that I was ordered to kill people, I could not respond to that question.
Mr. Witness, your fellow unit member, Sim, in the same statement, the same pages I read before, provided the following evidence. Question: approximately how many prisoners did they kill each time? Answer: there were more than 100, up to 200 prisoners each time they took prisoners to kill them, both children and adult. Sen, who was a prisoner there, may know about this. End of quote. Another prison guard has testified in his OCIJ statement, E319.1.23, at answer 90, that children were killed at Krang Tachan. Can you tell us whether the prisoners who were executed at Krang Tachan included children?
Answer: that is true concerning the question you asked, but I did not remember how many children, male and female, were killed. But actually there were killing of children.
My last question for you, in this trial on the 5th of February 2015, E1 257.1 at 10:40:46 and at 11:21:55, Sai Sen testified that you were one of a group of guards who was present during an incident in which Sang and Sing killed two small children, one who was 3 or 4 years old and the other who was 5 or 6. And on the 4th of February at 13:37:33, Sai Sen described those executions as follows, quote, there was a small pit to the south of the palm trees. They killed the younger one by smashing against the trunk of the palm tree, and then they brought in the elder sibling and they used a hoe to hit the neck of the back of that child. End of quote. Mr. Witness, what can you tell us about the execution of children at Krang Tachan?
Answer: as for killings at Krang Tachan, I did not witness the killings, and I could not make any assumption how the killing were conducted. But when the people were shot at, we could not hear the gunfire. However, if the killing was carried out with hoe or with clubs, we did not know. During the killing, it was very quiet. We could hear nothing, and I believed children were killed through various methods, but I did not witness the killings by myself.
Mr. President, I have no further questions. I went over my time a little bit, but I'll pass the floor to the civil parties now.
President, thank you very much. I now pass the floor to the civil party lawyer to put question to this witness. Civil party lawyer. Thank you. First of all, good morning, the chamber, and good morning, everyone in and around the courtroom. And good morning to those who views the proceeding remotely. I am Lao Junti. I am one of the lawyers in the legal aid of Cambodia, and I am representing civil parties in the ECCC. Now I would like to say good morning to Mr. Witness. I will put a few questions concerning some of the facts which you experienced from 1975 to 1979. My first question concerns the fact that you were a guard you were guard outside the Krangdajan security office, and you were part of the 6-man units. I would like to ask you as follows. While you were on duty, and when the prisoner was sent to that security office, where were you? Answer. Your question concerned the period in 1975. Actually, I was not at Krangdajan security office in 1975, and in 1976 I was transferred from the committee in the district to the security office to the west, and I was sent to security office in 1976, and at that time I was guarding outside the compound about 6 kilometers away from the security office. Question. So you mean you did not know about the transfer of prisoners to the security office while you were on duty? So once again, when a prisoner was sent into the security office, did you know about that, and did you witness it? Answer. At that time, I was guarding and there was a halt about 1 kilometer away from Krangdajan security office. My 6-man unit was guarding at that place. A prisoner from villages, from communes were sent to the place where I was guarding, and after that they were sent into the security office. Question. Thank you. Who sent the prisoner to the place where you were guarding? Were they militiamen? Were they soldiers? Who were they? Answer. Soldier and militiamen sent prisoners to my post. Question. I want to know who were they who sent a prisoner to your place? Answer. I did not know who they were specifically, and I did not know their names, and I just knew that they were soldier and militiamen. They sent prisoners to my post. Lawyer, thank you. those who send prisoner to your post, how many times per day were prisoners sent to your post? Did you see the same militiaman and soldier who sent a prisoner to your place? Answer. When prisoners were sent to my place, there were different militiamen and soldiers who came to my place. On some occasions, no prisoner was sent to my place, and on some other occasion, 10 people were sent to my place. Question. Based on your experience, when you received prisoners, were most of them male or female? And did the prisoner also include small children? Answer. As for prisoner, most of them were male, and there were only a few female and a few children. Most of them were male. Question. As for prisoners, what were their conditions when they were sent to your place? Were they tied up? And for children, what were their conditions? Answer. Prisoners were tied to the back of, behind their back, in order that prisoner could not escape. As for children, they were behind the older people. Question. From your recollection, at the time that you were asked to go inside the security and do the typing, when was that? When were you assigned to do the typing? Answer. When later I was placed to be on guard near the entrance, and later on they knew that I could do some of the typing, and I was not tasked to do the typing, and I was asked to do typing whenever they were absent. Question. When you were asked to go inside and do the typing, were all of you, the 6-man unit, was asked to be in the security office and do the typing, or were you alone asked to do the typing? Answer. Yes, the 6-man unit was asked to go inside the security and on guard in the security office. Lawyer, thank you very much. Concerning your workplace, the place where you did the typing, how many typewriters were there in your room? Answer. There was only one typewriter. Question. For those for typewriter, how many were they at that place? Answer. There were only 2 typewriters, An and Duc. And when one of them was absent and there were documents to be typed, I was asked to go and do the typing. So once again, An and Duc were the typewriters. There were only 2 of them. I would replace them whenever they could not do the job. Question. Did you recall what type of documents did you receive and were you asked to type? Answer. I did not recall. But as for typing, there would be a list of prisoners enter the security office. So they would hand over the list and ask me to do the typing. Lawyer, thank you. After you type the documents, was there anyone there to verify your typing? Answer. There was no one there. After I did the typing, I would place the piece of paper on the desk, and there was no one entering the room, only An and Duc who could enter the room and verify the information that I typed. Question. And after the document was typed, and if there was any error, was the document sent back to you to retype? Answer. No. After I did the typing, they would correct the information by themselves with their handwritings. Lawyer, thank you. Concerning your written record, the 232/93, question 32, your answer concerned a book consists of 10 to 20 pages, and the book is for children to write. And earlier I heard the question put by the co-prosecutor, and in your answer you said it was not that book, it was a piece of paper that you received to do the typing. And in your answer 32, you mentioned the book which consists of 10 to 20 pages. And the information was in the book, and the book was handed to you to do the typing. So what do you have to say about this? Answer. Actually, this book was not the book which was handed to me to do the typing. And it was not the book with the information that I got to do the typing. As I said, the information was written on a piece of paper and it was given to me to do the typing. And as I said, the book was used to register the prisoner who enters the security office. Question: you mean the book was for registering prisoners and the books were not given to you to do the typing? Is that correct? Answer: yes, that is correct. Counsel: thank you. After you got the assignment to do the typing, did you ever see any annotation, red annotation on a piece of letter? Answer: I never saw it. Counsel, I would like to backtrack a little bit. You have just answered that when you were guarding outside the compound, the supervisor of the security office could not order you to do the assignment. I would like to know about the structure of your six-man unit. Who was the chief? And if there was no chief in your unit, so who would coordinate the work of your unit to the security office? Answer: I would like to clarify this matter that my six-man unit, we were not staff of Krang Tachan security office. We were under the military district, and we were sent to guard Krang Tachan security office. As I said, An and Duch were the leaders, and they would ask us to be on specific location and on guard. And only the commanders of my regiment could replace and remove us from our unit. The division 210, the leader of this division could order to remove and to assign us to wherever they want. Lawyer, thank you very much. During the time that you were on duty, were there any incidents? Did any incident happen? For example, the prisoner escaped from the security office. And if such incident happened, so who would report the matter to? Answer: when I was at that place, there was no any incident that prisoner escaped from the security office. And if any incident happened, we would report to the director of the prison, meaning that we would report to Lane and An. President, lawyer, do you have any question to ask this witness? Counsel, I will finish my questioning in 15 minutes. President, it is now time for lunch break. The the chamber will grant 8 minutes for you to put question to this witness. So you will have 8 more minutes to ask this witness. It is now convenient time for lunch break from now until 1:30. Court officers, please facilitate a proper place for witness during lunch break and have him return before the chamber, before the bench, before 1:30 p.m. Security personnel, you are instructed to bring Mr. Kyu Sompon to the holding cell downstairs and have him returned before 1:30. The court is now adjourned.